Welcome to TheoTrade. Don Kaufman here on October 15th, 2025. 30 minutes to go to the cash close here on this Wednesday afternoon with the S&Ps up some 31 handles. Let's not state the obvious, right? Markets are up, but there is just massive two-sided trade going on. The areas, though, that are really contentious. Check this out. Gold, absolutely ripping, just ripping. Then you got to turn around and say Bitcoin, absolutely dipping. And then you're looking at the S&Ps, and there's just wicked, again, kind of two-sided trade. I'm going to break down some areas of this for you and some of the opportunities in front of us. As I said, don't state the obvious. Who cares where the S&Ps are trading right now? People are going to try to break this down technically. Okay, there's no technicals when markets start to get wild, and that's one of the first things that I want to mention right off the bat is, okay, this is not like a buy the dip, sell the rip. Like, this is some volatility. For that, let's cut to the chase. Let's go right to the volatility futures. And what's so wild about this is the vol futures, they're up with the S&Ps up 30 handles. Ruh-roh. I mean, you have volatility is literally higher with the S&Ps considerably higher, with the NASDAQ higher. And when you start to read into the volatility futures, the 7-day vol futures are not going to do it for me. Those pretty much kind of in the bag, okay? But when you start looking a little bit further out, and these are the ones that actually matter here, and I'm just going to kind of highlight this for you for a second. Start looking at no versus Dece. Okay, no versus Dece right in this neighborhood here. It's only 30 cents differential, which for those of you not well versed in volatility land, we're almost in what we term backwardation. Backwardation would be the throes, if you will, of some really kind of incredible volatility. And it's something that I was mentioning pretty heavily on the weekend update. Okay, it's kind of shocking because last Friday, there's one heavy day of sell side activity. Markets have dipped, markets have ripped, and everybody's like, we're back up, we're going to be okay. Yeah, you were okay until today, until, we're trading 67, 66, dipped all the way to 66.50. Holy crap, it's a 110-point reversal. Okay, but wait, there's more. Yesterday, we ripped to the upside, sold off as well. I mean, every day we're seeing these wild, two-sided trades. And I keep mentioning that it's because of the volatility. The volatility, I mean, basically Friday opened up kind of Pandora's box of volatility. And when you start looking specifically at the vol futures, is a dangerous place because what's going on right now is the volatility structure is such that we're preparing for much more an imminent risk, if you will. The volatility futures alone don't confirm that. But when you start looking down at things like VVIX, okay, here's another really wild one. The VVIX, this is the volatility of the VIX, okay? Yeah, grab onto this. It's up. And you're like, what do you mean it's up? Yeah, the volatility of VIX is actually up almost 3% today, which doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense given the fact that the S&Ps are up almost 0.5%. It only makes sense if we're basically proclaiming, okay, get down, let's duck and cover, things are about to get crazy. Think about that for a second. All your volatility indicators are pointing to just that. Nothing is really abating out there. In fact, on the contrary, volatility with the market up isn't abating, it's actually going higher, saying here it comes, two-sided trade. It doesn't necessarily mean we're going to tank. But again, it does mean, that you're in for, well, how do I say this? A proverbial crap fest in this marketplace in the very near future. That's volatility going very close to backwardation of the VVIX. Okay, next one on the docket. Everybody's talking, of course, about the AI. It's AI bubble. Well, I'm actually going to give you for what it's worth over here. Kind of wild, but take a look at NVIDIA. It's down on the week. Now that stands in heavy contrast. If you look at the SPX, the SPX is still, the S&Ps are still considerably higher. And what's actually going on right now, is there's a rotation away from some fairly critical areas. Okay, the critical area, in my opinion, would have to be Nvidia. Although even like Amazon is down today, I mean, this has not performed well. But Nvidia, okay, it's pretty dramatic in terms of underperformance in today's marketplace. Meanwhile, the financials, which have ripped yesterday, okay, basically coming in flat today. So the only thing that's really standing between us and kind of the abyss is just a handful of like, rotations into, for instance, Broadcom. Okay, Broadcom kind of coming on strong. Tesla still decent, upper edge of the expected move. Of course, Meta staging, okay, a little bit of a rally here, but for the most part, unchanged in the week. This is a very, very weak move to the upside, not, okay, particularly being led, for instance, by AI. Another aspect that I was pointing out of the weekend update. Moving along from here, there's also, okay, one other, I would think, very disconcerting area, okay, and that is, as I was starting with this, gold. Gold is exploding to the upside right now, but the area of kind of discontent, I should say, okay, would be none other than Bitcoin. So, not often I actually on the updates here, I bring up like crypto markets, but there's an area in here that you got to focus on, and that is we're aligning to break through, in my opinion, the 110 level. You break through the 110 level, okay, and it's actually going to cause Bitcoin sell side activity kind of through and through. Yeah, I'm looking at the Bitcoin futures here right now, but this one is pretty much clear as day. You break through the 110, it's a clean, easy shot to 100,000. And what that's going to do is going to have a ripple effect. It's going to spill over into the equity markets, and really high beta stuff is going to get smoked along with it. So it, again, this one really resonates with me right now because there's a lot of capital, especially on the retail side. The same people that are trading like, crypto products are actually trading these high beta stocks. Okay. This is even more concerning than gold. I mean, gold, look, initially I was like, oh, gold sees something, like everybody in the world is jumping into gold. Gold's just taking on a life of its own right now. And what I mean by that is, okay, gold is, it's into a squeeze at this point. If you look at GLD, cruise down to the options market in GLD, gold, okay, and I know exactly what this thing typically trades. Gold's doing 1 million option contracts. It's huge, just absolutely huge. I mean, it's been doing this day in and day out lately, okay, but I've never shown it before. It's absolutely massive size trading through gold, but the gold trade has actually taken on a life of its own. I don't necessarily think that this is hedging anymore. I think it's a little bit of a squeeze. Nevertheless, okay, what's going on in crypto, okay, that is, again, kind of just trade getting hammered in there, and breaking through 110 could be quite serious. So look for it, and again, I would actually say look for that 110 level to be hit and possibly breached next 24 to 48 hours. Switching gears here a little bit, let's cruise over to the SPX. So I was saying a moment ago, we are, okay, higher on the week, and I don't want to diminish some of the ground that we've kind of retrenched this week, okay? But again, there's warning signs everywhere on your screen. So yeah, this is the SPS expected move. And the expected move equals, okay, $197 this week. That's huge. So it's almost a 200 point, we'll just call it a 200 point expected move. That means you're supposed to go 200 points higher, 200 points lower. We actually got close earlier today to hitting 200 points higher. And while we were higher, there was a great kind of a reversion trade in play. I did it in the XSP, and caught all of this one. $7, okay, $6. I paid for a spread, out for 385. He shoots, he scores. That was an intraday trade. You had to show up. You had to be live in the TheoTrade chat room to grab all of that one. But the XSP, that is the mini SPX, the XSP, which is a cash settled instrument. We hit a small home run in that one earlier today with today's reversal. Nevertheless, back to the SPX, as I was saying, almost a $200 expected move in here. And we came just shy of hitting the upper edge of the expected move before reversing, okay? What does the remainder of the week, okay, leave us? Well, quite frankly, we have not hit the upper or lower edge of the expected move. But from this point forward, okay, I would look purely at the expected move, which is, for the remainder of the week, it's about $85 inside of the SPX. And that's really substantial. okay, given the fact that there's only Thursday and Friday left in the week. So once again, okay, I'm just going to give a very stark warning here. You want to get bullish, you want to get bearish, you better use spreads. I was screaming about it on the weekend update. Use spreads. What is wrong with people? You want to go out and buy some stock, you're going to get absolutely annihilated. All right? You're one little tweet away from a 200-point move in the S&Ps. I mean, hell, a normal move is $85 for 2 days. Like, I don't know what people are thinking, okay? But this is not a time. There's no heroes made in volatility. There's only those that they go out, okay, grab a couple of bucks, make, 200-300% on some intraday trade like we did, and I used a spread on an intraday trade. You want to know why? Because volatility, okay, it's up there right now. It's expensive just to buy a single option. Spread your risk. It's going to define it, okay? It's going to keep you intact. You don't have to make any short-sighted, like ridiculous moves in here. Spread your risk, especially with $85 of anticipated movement, okay? In what? The next 2 trading sessions. All right, S&Ps, well, you take a look. They're backing off right now. Look, there's nothing on the screen that says we're going to tank. But the fact now that the volatility futures, check this out. They're up 21 cents just in the last 8 minutes. They've come up some 20 cents. We're getting closer by the minute to going into a full-fledged backwardation in volatility. It's on, people. Okay, things are going to get a little bit more hectic. There's no more easy, free rides in this marketplace. Thanks everybody for joining us here at TheoTrade. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.